Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and welcome to Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center. I'm delighted you could join us this evening as we celebrate Shabbat, as we celebrate the end of a very long week, and also as we celebrate with the Gerst family, as their son Michael is becoming Bar Mitzvah, and we're acknowledging that in this moment. So there's all sorts of stuff that he's going to do in the service that are adult things to do, and that's okay, because he is our newest Jewish adult, and we are here to celebrate that fact. So we probably got some people who are now. I see Melissa dancing there in the Zoom. We probably have some people here who aren't normally here. That's okay. We still love you. We're glad you're here. Just a couple things you should know is that if you're with us on Zoom and you'd like a prayer book to follow along with, we use the Siddur Sim Shalom, and there's a PDF of this, a little downloadable version in the chat on Zoom. So you could download that, and all the page numbers that I'm calling are in there. The second thing you should know is that this is a singing community, because we have amazing cantor, amazing musical program, and amazing teachers who instill a love of music in our students. We're going to be singing a lot during this service, and we would love it if you would sing with us, even though the Zoom format with people muted doesn't lend itself to harmonizing. I highly encourage you to sing out with all your heart wherever you are. And even if we can't hear you, we can feel that you are there. So speaking of singing, we are going to start on page 13 with Shalom Aleichem. We talk about the angels who usher in Shabbat for us.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu, Malachim LaShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Kadosh Baruch Hu Baruchuni leShalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Tzechem leShalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Even as we sing our way into Shabbat and increase the sound in here, Shabbat's also a time of increasing the light in our lives. Cantor Ruth has some candles behind her that we're going to say the blessing for in just a second, but I want to make sure you know that these candles are being blessed in honor of Julie Gerst. Is that correct, Cantor Ruth?
That's correct, but let's first ask if Julie has candles there and she would like to bless them, and if not, we'll do it. I don't know where Julie is, but Hannah will help us with that.
Excellent, excellent.
Julie, you're going to need
Yes, now I'm unmuted. Yes, I do have candles here.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
So,
Multi-locational bar mitzvah.
yes. Ready to start?
Yep.
Okay. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu
Lehadlik.
l'chadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you.
Shabbat
Shabbat shalom.
shalom. Shkoyach.
Thank you.
And now, more singing. One of the ways that our sages foresaw to help us, because they had hard weeks too. And it's one thing to come, right off of whatever you were doing this week, or out of the marketplace, or being a shepherd, things that they did back then, let's say 500 years ago in the time of Sfat. They had hard weeks too. And they said, we can't just jump into our evening prayers and then go to bed. We need to lift ourselves out of the schmutz that we find ourselves in on Friday afternoon. And we're going to do that by putting together some psalms and some songs, some things from our tradition, some things that we're going to make up ourselves. And that's how we lift our spirits up. We start at the first rung of this ladder with a psalm that's on page 15, L'chunu ranana. L'chunu ranana, l'chunu ranana, l'chunu ranana, l'chunu ranana, l'chunu ranana, l'chunu ranana, Naria, Naria, l'tzur yishenu, nekama v'nafetoda. Naria, Naria, l'tzur yishenu, b'zmiro nariyado. Lehu neranena, lehu neranena, lehu neranena, l'Adonai. Lehu neranena, lehu neranena, lehu neranena, l'Adonai.
Ki el gadol Adonai, u'melech Adonai kol העולם. ארבעים שנה אקוד אדון ואומר האם תוהי לבבם והם לא ידעו דרכי אשר נשבעתי להפי אם יבואון אל מנוחתי.
Page 16.
יאי 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 שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בשרו מיום ליום, ישועתו יספרו בגויים, כבודו לכל העמים, נפלאותיו כי גדול אדוני, ולעלה מאוד, נורא הוא, על כל אלוהים, יאיר עלי די, היי עלי די, עלי עלי די, היי עלי די, עלי עלי היי עלי די, עלי עלי די, היי עלי די, עלי
we move to a song that was an original composition, at least about 500 years ago, called Lacha Dodi, which means, "Come, my beloved." This is how our sages welcomed in Shabbat, by speaking to Shabbat as a person, as a beloved presence in their lives. There's another kind of welcoming that this song has come to represent. There's a custom that when a person or a family is in mourning, they sit Shiva. They sit Shiva at home. They're not expected to go out into the community. The community comes to them, except for Shabbat. And a long-standing Jewish tradition is that a family that's been sitting Shiva will reemerge from that place into the community in the context of Lacha Dodi. Even as we're welcoming Shabbat into our presence, we're also welcoming those perhaps feeling the lowest among us. And tonight we are welcoming back the Grader family from mourning the loss of Harold Grader. And we're going to begin Lacha Dodi on page 21, page 21.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, yaralai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, yaralai, 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 pnei Shabbat. Shabor וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולב תפארת ולי תהילה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, ובראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. אוי לך דודי לקראת כלה, ירלה, 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 פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, ירלה, 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 פני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קומי צאי מתוך ההפכה, רב לשבת בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה. התנערי מעפר קומי, לבשי בגדי תפארתך עמי, על יד בן ישי בית הלחמי, קורבה אל נפשי גאלה. אוי לך דודי לקראת כלה, ירלה, 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 פני שבת נקבלה. אוי לך דודי לקראת כלה, ירלה, 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 פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, לא תבושי ולא תקלמי, מה תשתוכחי ומה תמי, בך יחסו אני הימי ונבנתה היראיתי לה היו לבשיסה שור עזייך ורחקו כל מבלייך יסיס עלייך אלוהייך כמסוס חתן על כלה לכדותי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה ימין ושמאל תפרוצי ואת אדוני תריצי על יד איש בן פרצי ונשמחה ונגילה לכדוני לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה לכדוני לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם לשמחה ובצולה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה לכדוני לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה לכדוני לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה לכדוני לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה לכדוני לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה.
As I said before, we extend a special blessing to the greater family, and this also goes for anyone else who might be joining us coming out of that intense period of the beginning of mourning. The words of our tradition guide us to say, Hamakom yenachem etchem, b'toch shar avalei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May Hamakom, the ever-present one, be a comfort to you, as the ever-present one is a comfort to all those who are in mourning. Welcome back. We're going to continue with a psalm for Shabbat on page 23. Page 23.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון ולזמר לשמך עליון. Let's join together. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון וכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות תמיד אליי שבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מעולם ומחשבותיך, מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מעולם ומחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Once again, welcome to Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center. Wherever you are coming from, you are in the right place. However you got here, StreamSpot, Facebook, YouTube, the 210, that's just fine. Most people not in the 210, but except for me and the cantor and the family in the chapel. We're really happy that you're here. You're in the right place, and we're glad to have you. And I'm aware that when we celebrate a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah during Shabbat, we may have some people out there who've never been to a Jewish service before, and we may be speaking a language that you don't readily understand. And sometimes families say to me, you know, Rabbi, you should explain more stuff, because there are people who are here who aren't Jewish, and they may not know everything that's going on. To which I usually reply, guess what? The Jews don't either. Not even I studied this stuff in grad school and practiced this for years and years, and I still don't know everything that's going on. That's why I like this gig, because it lets me keep learning. So let me unpack a word that you're going to hear a lot, if you haven't already. And I started with it, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat is the Sabbath that we're celebrating right now. And this word Shalom is the Hebrew word, well, for a few different things. It means peace. It means hello. It means goodbye. And some people say, oh, it's like the Jewish aloha. That's awesome. And you don't have to learn two words for the same thing. But I want to focus on the idea of peace and how it's different in Hebrew, how it's different in the Jewish imagination and philosophy than other ideas of peace. Peace as the cessation of hostilities. Peace as quiet after a maelstrom. Peace as a kind of equilibrium state. An equilibrium, once heard a biologist tell me that the only true state of equilibrium in the biological world is death, because that's when everything stops moving. Physicists might say, when everything stops moving, that's the heat death of the universe and game over. Peace for us isn't about not fighting. Peace for us isn't about always being quiet. Peace for us comes from Shin Lamed Mem, this root that means wholeness. And that is fundamentally different, I think. And that's why I want to share this with you tonight. For us to live in a world of peace means to live in a world where people are whole, where people are undivided, where people ideally are indivisible. Doesn't mean they're not different, but it means they can't be torn apart. This was a hard week for me. I'll use I statements here. If it was a hard week for you. Cantor Ruth and Rabbi Amy Gerasi and myself put together a statement distilling our feelings about this week and giving you our ideas for how to move forward. That's on our website, or maybe we send you an email. I'm not going to elaborate too much about Wednesday tonight. I am going to talk about ancient history. I'm going to talk about right now. I'm going to talk about our future. The ancient story that we learned this week is the beginning of this book of Exodus, Sefer Shmot. This is the start of the plot of that great cinematic wonder, The Ten Commandments, or my personal animated favorite, The Prince of Egypt. It starts in Egypt. It picks up after a gap in time, after the first family of Judaism, and then the second, and then the third, and so on, have found themselves in Egypt, and things were pretty good for a while until we get to Exodus. And the kingdom of Egypt that had blessed Joseph and his family forgot about him and said a new king arose over Egypt that did not know Joseph. And that's when things started to go sour. And to keep the people subjugated, Pharaoh tried everything. Pharaoh made us slaves. Although not slaves, maybe in the sense that we think about when we think about America's history with slavery, it was more a labor tax. We were told to make bricks, and as long as we met our quota, we could go about our business. But we had to meet our quota. We were not free to desist from our labors. And then Pharaoh said, that's not good enough. I need to stop their population from growing. I'm going to decree that their firstborn children will be killed. This was effective, let's say, genocide the long way. Because if a couple knows that their first child will die, they will never get together. And there will be no second or third child. I will separate couples. I will separate husbands and wives. I will separate people who love each other. And we'll be done with this in a couple of generations. And the people hated Pharaoh so much that they cried out, wasn't there a promise? Don't you remember us? And God said, I do. And so he called, I was going to say a young man. He wasn't a young man. He was about 80 years old at the time. He calls Moses in, shows him a bush, gives him a job offer. I'm kind of skipping over parts of this story to get to this. When God sends Moses, not to ask for the freedom of the people, but just give them the day off. Give them Shabbos. Let them go into the wilderness to worship. And Pharaoh says, no. But I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to double down your labor tax. I'm going to say you have to make the same number of bricks, but we're not going to give you all the materials for them. You have to go gather some of that stuff yourself. And their work became harder and harder and accomplished what none of the other prohibitions could accomplish. See, everything else made us hate Pharaoh. But when Moses stood up, Pharaoh said, I have a better idea. I'm going to make them hate each other. And the longer they are fighting amongst one another, the more I could divide them against each other, the longer I get to stay Pharaoh. And it worked. The people stopped hating Pharaoh as much as they hated Moses. And this would have gone on indefinitely. He would have been ignored. He would have died a lonely old crank until God brought miracles, until God brought plagues. And some might say that the plagues weren't just to wake up Pharaoh. The plagues were there to wake us up, to wake up the Hebrews, because they were happy to divide amongst themselves until they saw something that took all of their minds off of it. And that is how we got out of Egypt. Because if you want to stay in power, all you have to do is get everyone against you to be against each other. And I want to make it super duper clear. I am not talking about one person. I'm not talking about one party. There is not a monopoly on this tactic, and there has been plenty of divisiveness to go around for generations. But what I want to say right now, coming back from ancient history, this is my pledge to you with every fiber of my being, with every ounce of strength in me. The age of divisiveness ends now. The age of maintaining one's advantage at the expense of another, the age of seeing more different than we see alike, of going into our corner and only listening to the people who already agree with us, that has to end now. Otherwise, we will always have a Pharaoh. And here's how. I think there's three important things that we have to learn how to do again. We have to learn how to have hard conversations. We have to close what I call the empathy gap with one another, and we have to rebuild trust. First, we have to learn again how to have hard conversations. Now, I have been educated, as many of my colleagues have, about how congregations feel about talking about politics. Many congregations feel about their rabbis talking about politics, or anybody talking about politics at a synagogue event. And for the most part, I don't. But what I insist is that as a community, as fellow members here, as friends, we learn how to talk about politics again. It's not saying it's going to come from me, but we need to be able to trust each other even if we have different opinions. It is now more likely for people of two different religions to get married than two people of two different political parties. We need to be able to have difficult conversations and see each other as friends, and to do that, we need to close the gap of empathy. We need to be able to look at a person who's making drastically different decisions from us and ask the question, what is the pain they felt that drove them to that decision? What is the advantage that they see that drove them to do something that I would never do? Because only when we understand that do we understand that people are all doing the best they can with what they have. They're not out there to spite you, and they're not evil. That requires rebuilding trust. That requires what the sages say, give somebody the benefit of the doubt. Don't suspend your judgment. Don't forget about people who are hurting you. But, if you're kind of on the fence, put your thumb on the scale. Give somebody a chance. You don't have to trust that they love you like they love themselves. But you better believe they love their kids as much as you love your kids. And they want their kids to grow up in a world where their kids prosper just like you do. That you can trust. If we can rebuild this trust, if we can close that empathy gap, and if we can have hard conversations knowing that no matter what happens, we will still be there for each other in the clutch, we, as a community, as a country, as a world, will be unassailable. We will be unbeatable. We will be unstoppable because we will be indivisible. That's why I think at this moment, the most critical step one can take, the most serious promise one can make, is that the age of divisiveness ends now. Only then, when we stop dividing against one another, Can we really come together? Can we complete the circle? Can we have wholeness? Can we have peace? I bless you that on this Shabbat Eve, the dreams you have be dreams of unity, because that is how we regain a world of peace. Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for joining us at PJTC. We're going to continue with our evening service, led by, as I said before, the world's newest Jewish adult. Michael Gerst is going to lead us in the Baruch on page 28, if you're following along, and now we'll watch Michael do that. Please rise.
Baruch Adonai mevorach leolam vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Vaed. Avir Yom Umevi Laila Umavdil Ben Yom Uven Laila Adonai Tzvaot Shemo El Hai V'Kayam Tamid Yimlach Aleinu Leolam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai
Baruch Shemo.
Hama'ariv Aravim.
Amen. If you're still standing, you may be seated. We've gone from a blessing of the light that God gives us to a blessing of God's constant love. Avad Olam on page 29. Page 29.
Ahavat olam beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadata Al ken Adonai Eloheinu v'shochreinu ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח באמרי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה נהגה יומם ולילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל אוהב עמו ישראל We continue with Michael leading us in the Shema and the Ve'ahavta on page 30.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha vechayu hadvarim ha'ela asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al avecha veshinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam beshivtecha bevetecha uvlektecha v'aderech ushokbecha v'kamecha ukshartam leot al yadecha vechayu letotofot beineneha ukshartam al mezuzot betecha uvisharecha
Continue at your own pace on the bottom of page 30, and we'll get back together in just a moment. V'hayim shemati shmo mitzvotai. Sometime. Kimei hashamayim al haaretz. Micah will lead us in the Vayomer at the top of page 31. Page 31.
Vayomer Adonai, Moshe Lemor, Daber, El Bnei Yisrael, V'amarta Alehem, V'asu Lachem Tzitzit, Al Kanfei Vigdehem L'Dortam, V'natnu, Al Tzitzit, Hakanaf, Petil Tehelet, V'chaya Lachem, Let Tzitzit, Uritem Oto, Uzhartem, Et Kol Mitzvot Adonai, V'asitem Otam, V'lo Taturu, Acharei Levavhem, Ve'acharei Enehem, Asher Tamzonim Achareihem, Leman Tizkeru, V'asitem Et Kol Mitzvotai, V'hitem Kedoshim Lelochehem, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher Otzeitietem, Meretz Mitzrayim, Lehitem Lehim, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, Emet.
אמת ואמונה כל זאת הקיים עלינו.
We continue on page 32.
מלכות ורצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומימון אצל אחינו שירה. שמחה רבה אמרו כולם. In the middle of page 32, let's join together.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני,
מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות, אוסף אלה. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות, אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו עיניך, בוקע הים לפני משה ומרים. זה לי, ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד. ונאמר כיפד אדוני את יעקב, פוגע לו ביד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גל ישראל.
Amen. And now in the chapel, I'd like to call up Daniel Gerst, Michael's brother, to read Hashki Venu on page 33. Michael, make some room for your brother there.
Help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace and awaken us again, our sovereign, to light. Spread over us your shelter of peace. Guide us with your good counsel. Save us because of your mercy. Shield us from enemies and pestilence, from starvation, sword, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, O God, who watches over us and delivers us. our gracious and merciful ruler. Guard our coming and our going. Grant us life and peace, now and always. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Praised are you, Adonai, who spreads the shelter of peace over us, over all his people Israel, and over Jerusalem.
Amen. Yasher koach. We're now going to sing this same blessing, Hashkivenu, on page 33.
Help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace, calmness, shlemut.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו ומלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ושמור את צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם. One day השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו ומלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לך. One day, one day, one day, one day, we don't want to fight anymore. One day, one day, one day, there will be no more war. One day, one day, one day, shalom, shalom, and our children will play in peace. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day. Baruch atah Adonai,
Shalom.
הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ועל ירושלים. One day.
Continue on page 32. Page 32.
As it is our custom, we join with this joyous song. The people of Israel shall observe Shabbat. Let's join together.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. והניעו אלוהי ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם וביום השביעי שבת וינפש שבת וינפש שבת וינפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We're now about to begin a part of the service that is a time for, let's say, private meditation for the Amidah, which is the standing prayer, but that is introduced by our good friend Michael, who is going to lead us in the Hatzi Kaddish on page 34. Page 34.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divra kirte ve'amlich mohute v'chayechon v'yomechon uv'hayedoh ve'Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'yemeru
Amen.
Yehesh Rabbah mevora le'olam ulam me'amaya Yitzbara v'yishtaba v'yitzpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemeda kudasha
Brihu.
le'ela min kol birhata v'shirata tushbehata v'nehemata damir rambema v'yimeru.
Amen. I'll ask you to please rise for the Amidah for Shabbat evening, which is on page 35B, page 35B. This is a private Amidah. You can use the words from our tradition on the page. They are strong. They will hold you up. It's also a time if you want to share whatever prayers are in your heart. This is an appropriate time to do it. We'll get back together in a few moments. And when you're finished with your personal prayer, you may be seated.
אדוני שפתי תפתח ויגיד תהילתה.
הגיון ליבי לפניך, אדוני, צורי וגואלי, אמן. Together. עושה שלום, שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, אמן, אמן. עושה שלום, שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. ועל כל ישראל,
We'll conclude this part of the service with Michael leading us in the Kaddish Shalem on page 48. Page 48.
Yikaravi Kadashame Rabba.
Amen.
Be'omadi v'rakirte ve'amlich malhute. Be'chaychon v'yemahon u'ahed obetzyocho. Bagalav izman kari ve'imeru.
Amen.
Yeheshme Rabba mevora. Le'olam u'lam me'omaya. Yitbara. Yitbara v'yitba v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitala v'yitala shemeda kudesha.
Rihu.
Le'ela min kobir hata v'shirata tushbehata v'nehamata damiran be'alma ve'imeru.
Amen.
Titka baslo tonu v'hon dechol Yisrael kodam avahon d'vishamaya ve'imeru.
Amen.
Yehesh ravach ravach min shemaya v'haim alenu ve'elker Yisrael ve'imeru.
Amen.
Ose shalom bimramav hu ya'aseh shalom alenu ve'elker Yisrael ve'elkoyesh ve'tevel ve'imeru.
Amen. All right, we now begin to end our service with, don't worry, there's still more, but we're beginning to end our service, and we're on page 51. This part is where we take on all the responsibilities that we've talked to ourselves. Aleinu means it's on us, and that is going to require people to stand because we're going to be opening the Ark. And how this is going to work, we have various honors in celebrating Bar Mitzvah. The honor of the Ark opening belongs to people who aren't necessarily there, but Michael is going to be their agent. So the honor of this Ark opening belongs to Kathy Hunter, Brian Hunter, and Ellie Gerst, and that honor will be done on their behalf by Michael Gerst. So as Michael turns around and opens the Ark, everybody please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמי הקדוש ברוך הוא שולט השמיים ויוסר עצמו. על כן נקווה לך אדוני אלוהים מירות מלאב דפלטוס. כי המלכות שלך היא ולמיית ימלוך בכבוד, ככתוב את תורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
As Michael closes the ark, you may be seated. Before we move on with our service further, this is a time where we always pause and remember those who are no longer with us. In the coming week, we are marking the Yahrzeit, that's the anniversary of the passing of Betty Midler, Chaim Silberblatt, David Taus, Doug Smith, Erna Esther Goldschmidt, Esther Roth, Fanny Ackerman, Frank Miller, Frederick Holzer, Gary Schleimer, Gilbert Friedman, Goldie Frittis, Helen Reichler, Herman Blumenfeld, Irving Moses Glazer, Israel Morgenstern, Jack Lewis, Jeremiah Streisand, Joseph Gruber, Joseph Rosenblum, Kate Taylor Sherman, Larry Figner, Lee Phillips, Melvin Spira, Milton Pepper, Minna Morris, Miriam Rubenstein, Nancy Lujan, Nathan Rappaport, Oster Cragen, Robert Zabin, Ruby Swerdlow, Sally Schwartz, Samuel Jaslow, Seymour Levine, Sophie Carnow, Stephen Eagle, Teresa Friedman, and Tilly Kaplan. We've also had some recent passings in this community. Once again, we mourn the sudden loss of Harold Grader, beloved father of Rabbi Joshua, father-in-law of Francie, and Zadie of Ella and Noah, who passed away on Thursday evening, December 31st. A private family funeral took place this past Monday, and the family is just emerging from Shiva. We pray that Harold's memory be a blessing. Hamakom Yenachem. May God comfort and strengthen the family at this time. Our condolences also go out to our very own PJTC member, Ruth Kay, on the passing of her sister-in-law, Ruth Kay, who is a common name, I'm sorry, her sister-in-law, Ruth, passed away in England this past Wednesday. So our condolences go to Ruth. Hamakom Yenachem. We pray that your sister-in-law Ruth's memory be for a blessing, and may God comfort and strengthen you at this time. I'll ask that anyone who is in mourning or saying the Kaddish for anybody or observing a Yahrzeit, please rise at this time as we say the mourner's Kaddish together on page 52. Page 52. Let's pray it together. Yikadal v'yikadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ba'alma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach leolam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudsha rihu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Let's see, I'll ask if you're standing, you may be seated. And there's we move from a moment of heaviness to a moment of great joy as we present several gifts to our friend Michael. And the first of these will be presented on behalf of the USY by Michael's brother, Daniel.
Stand right there. I'm talking to you. Michael, Mazel Tov on finally reaching your bar mitzvah. Although I am excited for you to finally become a man, I have to say I'm even more excited that you don't have to practice prayers in the living room anymore. I'm here today mostly to embarrass you, but also to present you with the B'Kol Ahad as a gift to you from USY. This book contains many songs, which I'm sure you will enjoy belting out in the future. Hopefully, we will be able to attend some USY meetings later this year and sing these songs together. You are a great friend to have by my side for late nights of watching movies and playing video games. I'm very proud of you for reaching this important milestone in your life. You worked hard, and I'm glad to see your hard work pay off. If you keep working at it, maybe one day you will be better than me at Minecraft. I love you, I'm proud of you, and Mazel Tov.
You really didn't hold back.
Thank you, Daniel. We'll now give the mic to Nancy Carlton, who is going to present the gift on behalf of the sisterhood.
I was just waiting to be unmuted. Michael, Rabbi Maurice Galpert of blessed memory once remarked, and I quote, "Our sages have taught us that it is not expected of us that we shall complete our tasks, but neither are we free to neglect them." And what are our tasks? Briefly, to conserve and enrich the finest values bequeathed to us by our heritage as Americans and by our faith as Jews, end quote. To this end, Michael, we expect that you will go forward in promoting awareness of the dignity of being Jewish with appreciation of religious, moral, and cultural values and continued participation in our PJTC community. On behalf of Sisterhood, I trust this Kiddush cup, I think you have it there, will be a reminder of your accomplishments and heritage. And I know your grandfather Ken would be so very proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to call on Jack Singer, who is presenting a gift on behalf of our men's club. Had him a second ago. Look under Debbie Singer. Here we go.
They have to unmute themselves.
Here we go.
Okay, I think we're unmuted.
Yes.
Okay, Michael, congratulations on reaching this milestone in your life. I want to commend you on dedicating the time and effort it has taken to prepare for your bar mitzvah. I'm sure your family is very proud of you. And it's a special privilege for me to make this presentation because our families have been celebrating these simchas together for over 40 years. In fact, your dad and my daughter Jenny went to preschool together here at PJTC. And of course, there are all the unforgettable trips that we took over the years with your grandparents. So it's especially meaningful to me and my family that we get to celebrate you becoming bar mitzvah this Shabbat. And on behalf of the men's club, I want to present you with a yad that I'm sure will get to you somehow, that I hope you will be able to use tomorrow during services. So Mazel Tov, and may you go from strength to strength.
Amen.
Thank you.
I mean, Yeshkok, Jack. Now just, we're almost done. Just sit tight for a very brief, but very meaningful announcements about some things that are going on in this community this week. We have some up on the slideshow here. So you should know that tomorrow, still Shabbat. Tomorrow morning at 9:30, we're going to have another service, and Michael's going to be leading that one as well. And he's going to be teaching, not just leading the prayers, but also chanting from our sacred text and teaching some original Torah of his very own. So it's been my great joy to work with him on that. So please tune in for that tomorrow at 9:30. You should know on this Sunday, there is in fact religious school. You kids are in luck. It's back in the school year. So there's religious school on Sunday at 9:30. At 11 o'clock on Sunday morning, there is what we're calling our Judaism in the Home supplies pickup. So hopefully you've heard about this Judaism in the Home program. It's a great place for Judaism. This is a great program that we're running here, and there are some supplies associated with it, and you can pick those up here at 11 a.m. on Sunday. And there is an interfaith study group that's happening at 5 p.m., and I believe the topic is concepts of justice, the concepts of justice across different faiths. Sure to be fascinating. You can see it on the thing there, or check in with us if you can't find it. So on Monday, we have a social justice committee meeting at 7 p.m. and a ritual committee meeting at 7:30 p.m. On Tuesday, we have the meditation group at 8:45 in the morning. We have religious school at 4 p.m. at night, and the social hall at 7:30 on Tuesday night will feature our good friend Jill Gold-Wright. On, let's see, that's on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we have a temple board meeting at 7:30, and as per usual, we have our Pirkei Avot discussion group, and that's at 8 p.m. On Thursday, we have some ongoing classes, our Exploring Your Life Through Torah at 10 a.m., and our new Melton class, OMG. The G stands exactly for what you think it does. It's a great class unpacking different Jewish ideas about God, and that's at 7:30 on Thursday night. I should let you know that our matching campaign fund is going fantastically. Check your email for the most up-to-date stuff there. And so thank you to all of our generous benefactors and the people who contributed matching funds and things like that. It's because of you that we are able to keep this wonderful community going for all of the times where we need to support each other, but also all the great times that we get to celebrate with each other. And speaking of which, we're going to close out our Shabbat service with a song. We started with a song, we're going to end with a song, and then I invite you to stick around because we are going to be making Kiddush to sanctify the day, blessing God with wine and with bread and all sorts of good time. And so if you want to, and also I think after Kiddush, we'll turn off the live, and if you want to stick around and say Mazel Tov to the Gerst family, that'll be possible if you're on Zoom. So with that, let us sing our way out of here. And I always feel like, maybe I'm biased, but I always feel like singing sounds better if you're standing up. So if you want to stand up, stretch your legs, and sing along with us, that would be fantastic. Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Shalom Aleinu, Shalom Aleinu, Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kulamo. Shalom Aleinu, Shalom Aleinu, Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kulam. Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, Shalom. Shalom Aleinu, Odiavo Shalom Aleinu, Odiavo Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kulamon. Odiavo Shalom Aleinu, Odiavo Shalom Aleinu, Odiavo Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kulam. Together, Salam Aleinu, ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, Shalom, Salam.
Shabbat Shalom. Hold on tight. Coming back. So I'm going to.
Grab your water or your juice or whatever it is you celebrate with us, and join us up front here for Kiddush. Take it away, Kangaroo.
So actually, you guys in the Nile Chapel, do you have your Kiddush cups? Hannah, maybe you can focus on them for a little bit. I'll be still be leading the Kiddush. Yes, good. Everyone can grab a little Kiddush cup, and I'll be the soundtrack. Sounds good. Let's join together.
ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויכל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישפוט ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. Let's raise our cups and join together. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו, ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה וראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת עם כל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen.
לחיים.
All right. If you wish to wash, wash as you wish. If you have some washing implements at home, or I'll just keep you in mind while I do it. Here we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat yadayim.
Amen. And I think we're going back to the Nile Chapel because I think they have some super cool challah there. Is that correct? Yes, it is. So, whoa, super cool indeed. Okay, guys, hold it, lift it up. You can lift it up, Michael. Okay, let's join together in the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon. Each one of you can enjoy a little piece of that delicious challah. Come on, rip it up. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov to the Gerst family and Shabbat Shalom to everybody. Thank you for joining us. I think we're going to end the live